Hello, and welcome to Learning English. Are you ready to improve your language skills? Excellent. Let's practice with a very interesting story. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's begin. Look up at the skies over America. Something
is different. They are growing quiet. There are not as many airplanes flying high above the country as there were a short time ago. For many people, this is a new and surprising change. The airline industry across the globe is now facing enormous problems. Airlines are losing a great deal of money this year. Experts predict that their total losses could reach $84 billion. It is a shocking and immense amount of money for the industry to lose. This massive figure shows the situation is incredibly serious and sets a grim, challenging tone for the future of international travel. The year is 2025. This major crisis in air travel to America started because of new rules that were put in place. These new regulations concern trade with other nations around the world. They made purchasing goods from other countries more expensive by adding extra fees. This also made operations much harder and more costly for international businesses, including airlines. Because of these new trade policies and higher expenses, airlines from other countries are finding it extremely difficult to keep flying to America. It has become too costly or complicated for them to run flights here profitably. Consequently, they are choosing to cancel their routes. We are witnessing foreign airlines disappear, one after another. First, one airline cancels flights to an American city, then another airline cancels flights to a different one. This silent departure is occurring at airports all over the country. This growing silence in the American skies is causing many people to pause and ask questions. What is happening to air travel in the U.S.? Why are international carriers leaving like this? What does this signify for America's relationship with the rest of the world? America was once a central hub, deeply connected to everywhere by air. Now, those vital links are becoming weaker. This story will examine this significant change in our skies and explain what it means for all of us too. Airlines leave America. Foreign airlines are actively withdrawing from America. This signals a major shift in air travel to and from the United States. Several well-known international carriers are canceling or drastically reducing their flights, indicating a clear retreat from the U.S. market. Play Airlines, based in Iceland, is a prime example. After establishing its presence in the U.S. over several years, it has now ceased all operations nationwide. This means Play Airlines no longer operates any routes to America. Flights that once connected cities like Boston, Baltimore, and Stewart in the New York area are now permanently gone. These were routes the airline had planned for the long term, viewing the U.S. as a key market. They are now completely abandoned. Air Canada is also making substantial cuts to its U.S. service. It has eliminated 5 important cross-border routes. Furthermore, it has stopped service to 8 smaller regional airports throughout the United States. These airports were in cities that serve as crucial links between the U.S. and Canada, including Detroit, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Nashville, and Tampa. These flights were essential for both tourism and business. But Air Canada's departure has impacted many travelers. The numbers reveal the scale of the reduction. Data from aviation analysts clearly shows the decrease. More than 320,000 seats were cut from flights between Canada and the U.S. in the first 10 months of 2025 alone. This staggering number points to a large, lasting change in the U.S.-Canada aviation corridor. It's a definite sign that international airlines are pulling back from American routes. Small and medium-sized airports are feeling the impact most severely. Stewart International Airport in New York is a sad example. It once hoped to become a growing hub for international travel, and money was invested to expand it. Now it has lost its last overseas flight. The airport's international arrivals area is empty and unused. The terminal building, constructed specifically for international flights, sits silent. This illustrates the physical consequence of airlines leaving these communities. This quiet exit of airlines presents a major problem for air travel in the United States. It reflects a significant change in how international carriers view the U.S. market. They are now choosing to go to other parts of the world instead of America. This means America's connection to other countries is diminishing. 3 cities whose money American cities are now confronted with a difficult reality. They are losing a substantial amount of money because international airlines have canceled flights to their airports. This problem is acutely felt in cities like Buffalo, Seattle, and Tampa. These cities were previously popular destinations for international tourists. These global visitors spent money that supported local jobs and businesses. However, with fewer international flights arriving, the number of tourists has fallen sharply. Hotels in these cities report that bookings have declined significantly since early 2025. Local businesses near airports, like shops and cafes, are finding it hard to survive. They have experienced a massive drop in daily customers. People working in transportation are also affected. Taxi drivers, for example, depended on taking international visitors from the airport to hotels and other destinations. With fewer arrivals, their income has decreased dramatically. Restaurants in these areas are also facing a major drop in revenue. The local economies, once heavily reliant on money from overseas visitors, are enduring hard times. Across the nation, the economic impact is severe. Estimates from the U.S. Travel Association indicate that the United States is projected to lose around $8.5 billion in tourism revenue in 2025. This huge sum underscores the profound negative effect on the economies of many cities that served. As gateways for global travelers, cities had made large investments in their airports. They expanded terminals and upgraded facilities in anticipation of more international traffic. Now, sections of these airports are empty and quiet. At Tampa International Airport, for instance, several gates once used for international flights have been dormant for months. Local officials admit that activity has fallen so much that it could take years to recover passenger numbers. Stewart International Airport in New York is another stark example. It lost its final international flight route, meaning the airport is no longer a global entry point. The customs hall is deserted, and the infrastructure built for international travelers sits idle. Businesses surrounding the airport, including car rental agencies and hotels, have started to scale back their operations. Their business model depended on the airport being a busy international hub, which is no longer the case. Losing international flights is about more than just airplanes. It directly damages the web of businesses and jobs that supported those flights, and the tourists they brought. Cities that once marketed themselves to a global audience are now struggling. Their economic growth plans are being stalled. Even if domestic travel holds steady, it cannot replace the higher spending of international tourists. This situation reveals just how vital global visitors were to the economies of many U.S. cities. The quiet skies mean less money is flowing into these communities. It's making life harder for many residents and businesses. 4. Why it is expensive operating. Flights to the United States has become very expensive. This is the primary reason some foreign airlines have ceased flying there. New tariffs, which are taxes on imported goods, were implemented. These tariffs were set at 25% for items from Canada and Mexico and 20% for those from China. For most other nations, the tariffs were 10%. These taxes increased costs on everything for airlines. The price of airplane parts rose. Maintaining aircraft became more expensive. Equipment required for airports and flight operations also cost more. As a result, running a route to the United States was no longer economical. Airlines had to spend much more on necessary supplies. At the same time, fewer people wanted to travel to the United States. Demand, which is the number of people buying tickets, dropped sharply. There were several reasons for this decline. It became expensive for tourists to visit the U.S. The American dollar was strong, making purchases in the U.S. more costly for those using other currencies. Obtaining a visa to enter the country also became more difficult. Furthermore, new entry restrictions deterred some travelers. High operational costs and fewer passengers buying tickets. Airlines could not generate enough revenue on their U.S. routes. It was no longer profitable. Major international airlines recognized this problem. For example, Lufthansa, a large European carrier, began reducing its flights to the United States. Air France, another major airline, did the same. They decreased the number of flights because the market was no longer yielding good returns. It made better business sense for them to use their aircraft and staff on routes to other countries where they could earn more money. The combination of high costs and lowest rates Demand made the United States a difficult market for foreign airlines, which is why many chose to leave or reduce their services. 5. Planes go to Airlines are making significant strategic changes. They are flying to America less frequently. Instead, they are redirecting their planes to other regions of the world. This is a long-term strategy, not a temporary adjustment. Carriers like Turkish Airlines and Emirates are expanding rapidly, but their new services are not directed at the United States. They are launching numerous new routes to destinations in Southeast Asia and Africa. They are also increasing flights to countries in the BRICS group, which includes nations like Brazil and India. These regions offer new opportunities for business and tourism for years to come. For instance, Turkish Airlines has initiated new routes connecting its hub to Jakarta and Mumbai. Emirates has increased service to Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, building new networks in these areas. Chinese airlines have also dramatically altered their plans. They have reduced flights to U.S. cities by nearly 20% since the start of the year. Instead of focusing on cities like Los Angeles or Chicago, they are adding more flights to places such as Bangkok and Nairobi. Cities in Asia and Africa are gaining more direct connections from China. This strategy aligns with China purchasing fewer U.S. aircraft and strengthening ties with other economies. Why are airlines making this shift? There are several key reasons. First, these new markets have a growing population of people who want to travel, which means more potential passengers and sustained revenue for airlines. Second, it is cheaper to fly to these destinations. Airline operating costs in America are now higher due to tariffs on plane parts, maintenance, and equipment. Third, regulations and policies in some Asian and African countries are more stable and predictable. This allows airlines to plan for the future with more confidence than when dealing with shifting rules and visa delays in the U.S. Stability is crucial for investment. Consequently, destinations like Bangkok, Nairobi, Jakarta, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, and others in Brazil and India are seeing a rise in international flights. Airports in these regions are becoming busier and are expanding their capacity. Meanwhile, American airports are quieter as fewer international planes arrive. Industry data confirms this trend. Chinese carriers cut their U.S. flights by almost 20% this year. Concurrently, Southeast Asia is projected to experience a 15% increase in international air travel. Nations like Brazil and India are also seeing a steady increase in inbound flights from Middle Eastern and Asian airlines. This illustrates a major shift in the direction of global aviation. Airlines are focusing on where they can maximize profit and encounter fewer obstacles. Currently, they see more growth and lower costs outside of the United States. This pivotal shift means more planes are heading to Asia and other regions. Redrawing the map of global travel for the long-term. Point 6. The world changes. The world of aviation is changing rapidly. For many years, the United States was the epicenter of international air travel. American airports served as global hubs connecting people from all over the planet. Now that picture is beginning to look different. Fewer foreign airlines are choosing to fly to America. Instead, they are focusing on other parts of the world. Many are increasing their flights to cities in Asia and the Middle East. These regions are emerging as the new focal points for global travel. Airlines perceive better growth opportunities in these areas, where they also find that costs are lower and regulations are more stable. For example, major airlines from the Middle East and Turkey are adding many new flights. But these are primarily to destinations in Asia, Africa, and South America. Not the U.S. Chinese airlines are also scaling back American flights while launching new routes to other parts of the globe. This indicates they are making long-term plans that pivot away from the U.S. airports and places like Singapore and Istanbul are preparing for a massive influx of flights and becoming essential hubs for global travel. When global aviation shifts away from America, it has numerous consequences. It means America is less connected to other countries than it once was. This makes it more difficult for the United States to maintain its level of global influence. It also makes it harder for people from other countries to come to the U.S., including students hoping to attend American universities, business people looking to invest, and tourists wanting to visit famous landmarks. When flying to America becomes more difficult or expensive, fewer of these individuals will make the trip. This can diminish America's soft power, its ability to influence others through culture and ideas rather than military or economic force. When fewer people visit, it is harder to share American culture and foster mutual understanding. International conferences and events that were once held in America might relocate to other countries that are more accessible. Universities could receive fewer applications from foreign students. Museums and cultural festivals may see a decline in international visitors. The map of global aviation is being redrawn. Routes and connections are shifting away from the U.S. New centers of air travel are growing stronger in Asia and the Middle East. America, once at the very heart of this global map, is now losing that central position. This is a profound change. It signifies that America's place in the world is also changing. The movement of airlines is a clear sign that the world is undergoing a major transformation, leaving America less connected than before. 7. What Americans see as problems are now visible inside America. It's not just that foreign aircraft are missing. American airlines, such as Delta and United, are also encountering difficulties. For years, they have partnered with many international airlines. These foreign partners brought a steady flow of passengers to the U.S. When those partners stop coming, the American airlines lose those passengers as well. Consider how the airline system functions. American carriers fly people from the U.S. to other countries. They also rely on people flying from other countries into the U.S. This mix of travelers is essential for filling planes and ensuring profitability. Without a sufficient number of inbound passengers from other countries, some flight routes become very hard to sustain. They are no longer profitable. This creates an imbalance within the domestic American system. American airlines still have fixed costs for their airplanes and airport facilities. But if they lack enough overseas passengers, paying these costs becomes difficult. Foreign airlines can simply stop flying to the U.S. if it's too expensive. But American airlines must attempt to maintain their business within the country, where their planes and staff are based. Even U.S. government travel has declined. United Airlines reported fewer bookings from government agencies as fewer official overseas trips are required. This shows the problem is extensive, affecting many aspects of American life beyond just tourism or business travel. This situation is a serious crisis for all airlines in America, both large and small. Airports in smaller cities are seeing fewer people. For example, airports like Stewart in New York have seen their last international flights depart. Their customs halls are now empty. Businesses located near these airports that serve travelers are struggling. Hotels report fewer guests. Shops and taxi drivers feel the change every day. Jobs are being lost, including cleaning staff and security personnel who worked in the international terminals. The damage from losing international flights is spreading across the nation, impacting jobs and local economies in many places. Americans see quieter airports. They see deserted international gates. They see businesses near airports struggling or closing down. This reveals how deeply America was connected to the world through its skies. Now, that connection is weaker. Americans are seeing the consequences. Cities that were internationally renowned may begin to feel less important on a global scale. It is harder for them to attract visitors, new businesses, or students from other countries. The quiet in the sky translates to trouble on the ground all across the United States. It is now a full-blown crisis for the entire airline industry here and for the cities that rely on it. The problem is widespread and easily observable for people all over America.